Hi everyone, welcome to the channel. So for people that don't know me, which I guess is all of you right now, I'm Baptiste. I'm an ex-Hugging Face. I used to be a researcher on agents, and now I'm working on my own agentic platform. I'm not exactly sure where it's gonna go, but I guess we can figure it out together. So today I wanted to talk to you about, so it's been week 2 of my development. So I wanted to show some progress update, but I also wanted to just discuss about a lot of other projects in the space, which I take a lot of inspiration from, which I think is really cool, and where's the field moving forward. So I'm going to start with the elephant in the room, which is OpenClaw. Um, Also known as CloudBot, MoleBot. They had the issue with trademark with Anthropic, but they renamed. So the first thing I wanted to show you guys was just the sheer amount of stars that they got, which is insane. So I think yesterday or 2 days ago it was 100K. So they already gained like 15K in a day, which I mean some projects don't gain that in a month. So quite interesting. So that's so I used to work at Hugging Face. So that's like their biggest project, and you can see just like OpenClaw like quickly coming to that. And this is like it's not a small repo. It's like top 50 repo. I think like the biggest one uh, that's not like a boot camp or something like that. I think it's probably React, and that's double the amount of stars of OpenClaw. But right now it's been like a straight up line. So I'm wondering when it's gonna taper off. But at least you have a lot of people excited about it, and I'm also super excited about it. I have it installed on my own somewhere. I have it. It's installed on my own server, and I've been using it. Give me 1 second. Okay, so this is my own instance. So because of all the changing of name, I had problem with the updating, so it's still a work in progress. That's also one of my complaints with OpenClaw, is that it's quite finicky. The self-hosting aspect is really, really good, but there's a super high learning curve. So I don't think it's for everybody, but I think it's a magical product and it should be for everybody. So that's a bit what I'm working on. One thing that they do really well is their skills. So people can just contribute a lot of skills. And those are manually installed and managed by OpenClaw, which is really nice, and you see a lot of people contributing to them. Um, I also wanted to talk a bit more um, about the config, which I thought was super interesting. Is that this is a big JSON file, and they give a way to configure it. So, for example, if you want to activate webhook on OpenClaw, you have an option. What's really cool and is that everything works through the chat also. So if I say to OpenClaw, please deactivate webhook for security reason on my OpenClaw instance, it will automatically update its own settings, which I think is really, really cool, and it's where it's probably going to move. One problem with, for me, OpenClaw is that you have a lot of different authentication to manage, connecting like WhatsApp and Slack, Discord. You have a lot of like O off is a really, really, really difficult subject. So for me, that's one of the limitation, is that you really struggle with adding all these services. So if I want CloudBot that also work on my Airtable, Salesforce, and so on, all these integration, they require you to actually, I've done it for my website, they require you to go to them and create credential, log with them, etc., which take a lot of time. So for example, here, this aspect, you if every user has to do that on every platform, it's a lot of wasted time when this can be centralized done. So this is something I'm doing a bit different in my solution, which I'm going to come later upon, but it's really similar to OpenClaw. At least right now, it's really like minimum product, and then I'm going to see where it goes. Another that I wanted to talk about was Twin. I thought was really interesting. So they, I don't know how many users they have, but they have a lot of agent deployed. Let's say maybe each person, each they do like 10 maybe agent. That's 10k users. That would be amazing. So they have a big seed round and actually just delve into their product, which I thought was really cool. So what they do is they are more similar to something like N8N, which they allows you to create workflow. So the problem with N8N is that it's super rigid and is not really like an LLM in a loop that will fetch your data, make a decision based on a prompt. So Twin is going more in that direction. So I've also something similar in my product, into the sense that calling it a product, I would say more of a project right now, but being able to have like a certain trigger and start an agentic workflow that will use my tools to achieve an action. So for example, here, Twin, I think I have this one. I want to create a new agent. Each time I get an email, I want to send me a message on Slack. So for me, it would be literally the same prompt. But what they do really well is this kind of double panel view, which I think is really underrated UX, and I'm gonna delve more into it next week. So they have this kind of AI agent that will work with you to create this workflow, and then it will create it, and then you can run it on trigger. You have memory, you have maybe a way to see the previous action. So I didn't manage to make it work, to be honest. I receive a authorization error. I think it's just a bit buggy at this stage, but at least I really like the concept. I think it goes in the same idea as Claude, with like the canvas from Claude, which is really nice. So it's the kind of this side panel where it will make a document. I think this is really nice to have this idea of like this big inspiration this week, to have this idea of like a chat, and then this kind of panel that's filled by the LLM. It's really interesting. So this is where I'm going. So now I'm going to rework my workflow to have this as a side panel, but it's managed by a LLM and through like your standard chat interface. So for example, here I have like access to my Salesforce and so on. So I could talk to it, look at my Salesforce, create a different workflow based on this table in my Salesforce, and really having these two words a bit combined. And this goes again into the OpenClaw and this OpenClaw JSON that you can actually edit through chat, which is really interesting. So now I wanted to talk also about Manus. To be honest, it's not that long of an update, but they got bought by Meta. I mean, that was some time ago, but they managed to get a lot of ARR. And what they did super well was this deep research. So you have ChatGPT deep research, but this went a lot further. Could create like your spreadsheet and really spend the time of, I think, just this agentic loop that didn't have like a real timer on it or number of iteration, and they did a lot in that aspect. So what's cool is that Airtable, they also started a completely departure from their Airtable, but a completely adjacent product, which is their super agent. So it allows you to do deep research on different topics. interesting product. To be honest, I don't see a lot that's super innovative there. It's been quite possible to do previously. I mean, they create nice document based on like a search and so on. So the UI is interesting. What thing is that they have really a pretty UI. So when they show you their kind of deep agent at work, you see all those kind of bubbles appear of thoughts, and that's a way to organize the activity. Right now, I've chosen something that's similar to like Cloud Code Codex, which is a big activity panel that just like a huge trace of what it does. So this one is huge because Salesforce, they have crazy huge object, but you have a CLI tool, and that will automatically like search uh, your do search inside your Salesforce, and then it goes through this, then a thinking, and so and back and forth until you get to an answer. Um, I think it's kind of nice to have this kind of linear. It's easier than to follow than a lot of like different parallel train of thought, which maybe it's better in terms of performance, but I think this make it easy to follow, and then you don't have to overcomplicate it. Now I wanted to talk about Poke. So yeah, I've done a lot of research on different people in the space. So Poke, what they did is similar to Cloud Bot, OpenClaw, sorry, is that you can text them from like iMessage, best first date spot around the city, and then they will ask you, or it's your companion that's always there in your apps. And so what I think they're doing a great product. I think it's really interesting. I think CloudBot I really like because it's open source. I'm also open source, so that's a big something I like in a product. And what they did, which I've lost, which I found now back, is they got sued by Meta. So they were using Twilio. Twilio has a WhatsApp API, and you can apply to Twilio to get access to WhatsApp API. And they got banned for using the API, even if they were paying customers, so they were paying for every request and so on, because I'm saying OpenAI, Meta didn't want any competition on WhatsApp, and they have their own Meta AI, Llama AI, which is bad. And so they decided to ban them, and then they counter sue, or they sue, I'm not exactly sure. And they won the case through the European Union, saying it was a monopolistic behavior. So that's really interesting. Is like big player are trying to block those kind of AI assistant that lives a bit everywhere. So I mean that's something for sure to keep in mind. So now let's me talk a bit more about ABAP. So I think one of the biggest learning I learned through OpenClaw was about closing the loop. So let me explain a bit what closing the loop means. So it's from this interview. Let me just find it. Just one.
I will use.
So it's from this interview from the creator of CloudBot, and what he said that I recommend you to check the interview. But what he says is that some people try to use LLM, and then they realize, okay, it doesn't work on the first try. But then you're asking kind of the LLM to develop a feature without being able to try it, or without being able to. It can, for sure, it does the compiling, the linting, but you actually, when you develop a feature as an engineer, you are at the same time looking at the website, see how it looks, clicking on different buttons, and using the feature as you develop it. And then closing the loop is this idea, is that the idea of giving the LLM access to this to a way to test his own work. So this is what I did. I did two closing the loop. So I create CLI tools because that's just the best way for LLM at the moment. They could also like look at the web and click, but it would just take forever, to be honest, and it costs a lot, and you burn a lot of tokens. So what I did is I added to my own source code uh, chat into a chat CLI. So I need to start my own server, but this allows the LLM to do something similar to what's on the web interface. So it could do my own app run chat with what's in Salesforce, and then trigger full output. And because I'm using Tmux, all my LLM can subscribe to my bun server, all my logs, which may be running, yeah, to all my logs and see like details info on what's happening in the background. So they can do something similar to that, which would create my own open server and start to run the prompt and so on. And they can trigger all of this through a CLI. And I made the same change for my workflow so that they can trigger and create those workflow through a CLI. And what's really interesting is now how I code is I said, okay, implement this feature, but I want you to actually try and test it. So he runs both the server and the chat, and actually used the LLM can debug. And I saw that was such a great help. I had an issue with the issue was about, I think, message disappearing or some issue with duplication in message. So then I just let the LLM run for like an hour of just going back and forth. And then he found me like the most obscure bug of like something really deep in my code base that it would have never one-shotted, but just able to close this loop and having like this continuous feedback loop that really, really helped with performance. So that's for sure my biggest learning of the week. So that was a great interview. I highly recommend it. I think it talks about it kind of in testing and debugging. So at like a 1 hour mark in this podcast. And now let's talk a bit about what I'm going to work on next. So I really want to delve into this idea of the LM can edit its own config. So something similar to this, to the chat interface, you can edit it. So this is what I want to do. I also want to do something similar to Twin, which is my workflow. I should have like a closed canvas, or like the Twin should have always have my chat interface, because I think that's the way to work with software, is now to talk to it and then automatically fill my workflow and all my different configurations. The same with the maybe the skills. So integration that I already pop from the chat. If I'm missing an integration, I say connect. But really this aspect of creating a skill, creating a workflow, that should have their own side panel and have this dual panel interface. So that's what I'm working on in terms of UX. I'm also working on self-hosting. So this, I wanted to talk a bit more about Claude, OpenClaw. So OpenClaw is really interesting, but they put the burden on you to host everything, which unfortunately there's some stuff that just like you can ask every user to go to, for example, if you want to control Reddit, you have Reddit app registration. I don't think I'm going to find it. You have to register an app through Reddit, for example. This is a pain in the ass. Now they even changed their API. You have to give them like a good reason for you to be able to access it. All of those tools, Airtable, Salesforce, and so on, you need everybody to kind of create have their own like API key, have their own OAuth setup for them, which I think is should be much simpler. So this idea of like, same with Slack, I can just have a connect button now. I need to enter but just having those connect buttons, this is a problem for me with OpenClaw, is you really want to have as many services as possible. And if you require every user to go to every of those platforms to register for like a developer account, that's just such a big headache. That's I mean, they have 100K star. That's 100K people that have to go to Google Console and log in. So I want to still offer the same option as open close. So really, like, you can bring your own OAuth and you really can run that fully offline. Don't rely on me. But what I'm thinking is this aspect of bringing your own device. So here you could connect your own device, so you don't have to host everything. And it's a spectrum, and then you could bring your own device. So here, instead of because right now it costs a lot of money, the sandbox and some usage, instead of bringing all of this, instead of having to subscribe to us, you could just bring your own bring your own compute, and this, so you can have your own PC connected to it in one line, and then you don't have to host everything. You can still do, but then if you don't host everything and then you just rely on the hosted version that's at abap.com, then you could do you could have the same performance for free, which is really what, for me, OpenCloud does really well, is everybody can try LLM for free. So this I'm going to talk more about next week, but that's the idea. And I also added the option to use your own subscription, which is super nice. So then if you have a ChatGPT subscription, you can directly use it to pilot the whole program. So thank you very much. I hope you learned a few things today and anything was useful. And feel free to reach out to me in the comments. I also have a GitHub that I will link in the video description. So please leave a star. Right now I'm alone. And then we also have a Discord server where I'm happy to talk to you. Yeah. Thank you very much for listening. Bye.